What basic, children's age-level fact did you only find out embarrassingly later in life? I lived in a desert most of my life, no snow. Before my recent experience, I had spent maybe a total of 5 days of my life in snow, and the snow I was in was incredibly light. Because of this, I always pictured snow as eternally white and ethereal, like in all the cartoons I'd watched as a kid. Went to spend time with my partner's family back in the Midwest in early February. I was absolutely enchanted on my first day of the 2-week stint. Then I watched what happened as the snow stayed around, and I got to see black ice and the nasty gray-brown snow blocks on the side of the road. I suppose I should have known snow got dirty and tracked over and nasty, but I didn't. Robbed the childhood wonder and whimsy right from under my nose. That you were supposed to wash your ass in the shower. I thought wiping handled it all. My girlfriend noticed I never washed my ass in the shower and told me I was supposed to. I thought she was just being extra, so I put a poll out on Snapchat. Most responses I ever got: Jesus, that one was embarrassing. I was 21. P.S. If this winds up in a YouTube video, PLS blur my name. I can't handle the shame. I was born and raised in Florida. If we had wet leaves on the back deck, I would take a hose and water blow the leaves off. No worries. Then I got up to paw just before the pandemic kicked off and decided to stay through winter. One day the snow was heavy. I didn't feel like shoveling, so I went to the hose, turned it on, and began spraying down the deck. It really didn't seem to work very well. I threw the hose aside and went to bed. Next morning I stepped out on the deck, nearly went ass over elbows, then had my hubby cuss me out because I iced over the deck while trying to explain freezing temperatures. The coup de grace was when the hose exploded. I didn't know they should be drained after use. I'm learning that the following things are not meant to make your tongue and throat swell, make you overheat or sweat, and that I was just allergic. Mint, tomato sauce, salt and vinegar chips, mild spice. Sweating is apparently normal, but you should be able to breathe and not swell up, and many more. Found out about most of these things asking friends how they deal with things like the tomato sauce sweats. This will probably get lost in the sea of already terrific revelations, but here goes. I'm always grateful this was caught rather early on before having the potential to embarrass me as bad as it could have. The famous equation E=mc², before it was properly explained to me as a child, I just assumed it was a breakdown of how the capital is written. M looks like an E facing downward C. Add the C portion to illustrate that it needs to be standing up on its side with the open section facing right, squared, as in square it off and get rid of the curvy bits, and voila, an E equals an M plus C but with squared edges. My brain, pow. I remember a few years ago seeing on Reddit that Arnold from Hey Arnold isn't wearing a kilt. It's a really long plaid shirt worn under a sweater. Blew my mind. Even though you can see the collar of the shirt. Edit, I got another good one, but it wasn't me. I had to explain to my friend in her mid-20s that the vodka she loved had calories. She thought that because it was clear like water that it didn't have any. She was not happy. This isn't about me, but I thought I'd share it anyway. Also, nobody I've ever told this story to believes it. I'll let you decide for yourselves. I know I wouldn't believe it. As a kid I was round at a friend's house. We were maybe 12 years old. We were in the kitchen while my friend's mom was standing at the sink. I can't remember what she was doing, the washing up or something. Anyway, while she was doing whatever she was doing, she was looking out of the kitchen window, into the night. Suddenly, she let out a little cry, in a slightly startled voice. My friend asked her what was wrong. My friend's mom. The moon. My friend. What's wrong with it? My friend's mom. Well, where's the rest of it? She had apparently reached the age of, I don't know, 35, 40. without ever noticing that the moon has phases and isn't always full. I have no idea how this is possible. My great-grandfather had half a pinky on his left hand and always said it was because he liked to use it to sop up leftover pancake syrup and had worn it down to a nub. This made sense to me because I'd seen him do that plenty of times. I was so embarrassed to be in college before I realized that was ridiculous and finally asked him what really happened. In reality, he and my uncle had been working in their blacksmith shop, and my uncle accidentally brought a sledgehammer down on his pinky. He didn't want to traumatize me with the truth as a kid, but by the time I asked, I was more than old enough to handle it. Why there are no 10 birthday candles in stores? I was complaining about it with my husband and he said you're supposed to put 1 and 0 together and that was the lowest point in my entire life. Edit. So apparently some of you don't understand. I was just in the store with my husband when I saw some candles. I wasn't looking for wedding candles when I was 10, obviously. I understand that there might be some candles that are 1 and 0 put together, or some variation that goes higher. I was merely saying that I hadn't seen one before. I'm not stupid. It was a simple error that I have only thought about like 5 times. I wasn't forming my entire personality around this one fact, but to those that were civil and jokey, thanks. Yeah, all are actually really funny. Okay, this happened to a family member. When she was about 5 or 6, her dad told her goats, specifically mountain goats, right legs were longer than their left legs, so she asked, and what if they need to turn around? Well, they fall over, so they can't, they walk around the entire mountain. He said, she only found out when her now husband and her went on holiday and saw mountain goats. Their legs are the same length, she said to her husband, to which he replied, of course they are, and that's when it hit her. Her dad had played the ultimate long con on her. Not really a fact but still something a child would understand that took me way too long to get. Ever since I can remember, my mom would do this thing where she would rub the top of my head and we'd have the following conversation. Mom, what's this? Me? I don't know. What? Her. It's a brain sucker. What's it doing? Me? What? With lots of giggling, of course. Her. Starving. I would beg her to do this, oftentimes in front of people, because, even though I didn't get the joke, I was a sucker for a good head scratch. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that it dawned on me that my mom was calling me dumb. I'm in my mid-30s now and I still ask her to do it because, again, I'm a sucker for a good head scratch. Okay, breaking out the auto count for this one. I am 25 years old. I have 2 degrees and I live on my own. I didn't learn until a few days ago that microwaving metal might start a fire. How can I not know? I don't own any. Edited for clarity. Metal cups, plates, bowls or serving dishes at home. I know not to leave cutlery in the microwave, but I didn't know it's because they're made of metal. All this time, I thought not putting forks in a microwave is simply an indisputable fact of life without any need for an explanation. I've never questioned it, I just do, and I lived happily ever after alongside this ignorance, until I don't anymore. During a volunteer shift I was asked to microwave several pet food bowls for our finicky eaters. One of the other volunteers quickly pointed out there are paper plates nearby and then left. I didn't get it. Why would I need paper plates? I couldn't figure it out. There's nobody around to ask, and the dogs need their dinners. So I just chucked the bowls in the microwave, the metal bowls. What are those crackling sounds? Huh? That's strange. Some sparks are flying. Yes, maybe this microwave is old. Just as I started wondering if I should take the bowl out, another volunteer walked past, spotted my innocent attempt at arson and straight up dive-bombed into the kitchen yelling, "Stop, stop, stop, take it out, what are you doing?" Luckily I stopped the microwave before Armageddon happened. Unluckily, I now must explain myself. The sheer look on this poor soul's face when I honestly told him I didn't know is still branded to the back of my mind. I swear I could almost hear his thoughts. Am I lying? Has an arsonist, shears, grammar Nazis, successfully infiltrated their organization? Am I just that dumb? Is it possible to be so dumb? What else do I not know about the world? Am I an alien studying human life? Long story short, the other volunteer gave an overly detailed explanation about why metals can't go into microwaves. I apologized profusely, and now I don't volunteer there anymore. My grandpa used to take me fishing a lot as a child. He explained that any noise at all would scare the fish in the lake and ruin fishing for everyone there for hours. On a boat with my husband last month at the age of 28. I realized Grandpa just wanted some peace and quiet. Edit, some people are saying you really can't make noise, so I'll explain. My husband turned on the radio while we were out fishing. When I complained, he said, "Oh, honey, Grandpa just wanted you to shut up. We caught lots of fish and made all the ruckus we wanted." When I was 4 or 5, my mother brought me home a balloon one day, plain blue balloon with helium. I accidentally let it go and it flew away. Being little, I was devastated. Later that night she comes back from somewhere and tells me she was at the gas station and miraculously, my balloon just came floating by. Being a kid, I was thrilled and totally believed it. So fast forward 20+ years, I'm on a date and we stop to get gas and we see a balloon floating by the gas station. Probably hadn't thought of that story again in all that time, so I start telling my date the story about how I had a balloon fly away, and then my mother found the very same balloon at a gas station, and then as I'm saying it out loud I realize, too late to not look like an idiot, that of course it wasn't the same freaking balloon. I've never seen someone laugh so hard. I didn't grow up in a good household, so keep that in mind I guess. I didn't know how to tie my shoes until around 13. I learned what vaginas and penises are in sex education when I was 14. I learned how to bathe myself properly at 15. I learned what condoms were at 16. Southern school taught abstinence in sex ed. Also learned what masturbation was that year. My husband taught me how to brush my teeth correctly at 20. I am learning slowly that Apollo 13 was an actual event and not just a movie starring Tom Hanks. Would have been embarrassing in any context, but all the more so when I was working with CPT James Lovell and asked him why he was signing new paperbacks of Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks on the cover. "Oh, did you work on that movie?" I asked, beyond awkward. We had an hour's drive together, and so after he patiently explained that he was on that mission and as I had not seen the movie, I asked if he would tell me the story. He laughed and agreed. Okay, I've never met anyone who didn't think they already knew the story. Hearing him tell it to me was riveting and special. 25 years later I still cringe, but it was one of the best days in my life. He is truly an amazing human. I keep meaning to write it all out for and send it to the moth smile. Edit, some words for clarity, at work and distracted. Edit, gold, thank you, kind stranger. There is a lot more to the story, most of which makes me look worse and him better. It took me another decade to appreciate the deeper lesson he offered me that day, but let me sum it up as slow down. Life teaches you how to live and how to love. My grandma always made me eat the crust of my bread because it has the most nutrients. In college, when I told my younger cousin that in front of my grandma, she laughed and said, "I only told you that so you wouldn't waste the crust." Similarly, that if you turn the lights on and off too fast you'll start a fire. Once I became a parent I realized it's just a way to stop kids from being annoying. I thought until the age of about 21 that when companies had a state next to their name, it was estimated that companies were started around that time. It was only when I voiced my disgust profoundly to my then partner that it was ridiculous that no one knew when these companies were formed, and YR they were all estimated. She just stared at me blankly for a moment and just went, "Established." Penny dropped real hard. I am from a northern city, in the US. In basic training for the army, I was asked by the chow hall lady if I wanted grits with my eggs/bacon/breakfast. I had literally never seen or heard of them in my life. I lived a relatively sheltered and somewhat ethnic-focused dietary life. I asked her what they were, and she replied, "Well, they're just grits." So asked, as politely as I could, "Are they an animal, mineral, or a vegetable?" Luckily, my new friend from Florida was behind me, heard the entire conversation and said to me, "They're just corn, somewhere between creamed corn and cornmeal." He then said, "If you put butter and salt on them, they taste just like butter and salt." Loved that guy. He's probably a general now. One of my mates from my master's grad school didn't know that there were male and female chickens. He thought roosters and hens were different breeds. The same went for cows. He justifies hating cheese because he thought cow's milk was cow urine. We had to explain to him that piss is not stored in the udders and also asked him what he thought happened when human mothers breastfed newborns. Piss ain't stored in the tits, mate. We were 24 at the time. Tim, if you're reading this, you were way smarter than me at neuro-ophthalmology lol. Edit, I can't believe my most awarded comment is about cow piss. Thanks for the gold plus silver guys and thanks Tim. Sorry they roasted you, haha. Lol. Okay, so I grew up on a small farm. We had cows, chickens, pig, rabbits and goats and more. On occasion we had to shear the goats. The goats would hold very still when being sheared, like statues still. I saw this on pretty regular occasion. When my parents would take me to get a haircut, they would tell the barber to give me a billy goat cut. Of course to me this meant hold really still, so I did. Had the same barber for a long time. Eventually he passed when I was in high school, leaving me to find a new barber. Imagine my and the new barber's surprise when he said, "How do you want it cut?" And I said, "I just want a normal billy goat cut." This is one of those things that makes me cringe at night. There's no chemical in the pool that reveals pee. A buddy and I were talking about it and we both realized at the same time that neither of us have actually seen it. We looked it up and felt dumb as hell. Edit, yes, before you type it out, I know chlorine and pee combined creates that pool smell. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm referring to that mythical chemical they put in a pool that changes color when somebody pisses in the pool water and identifies who peed. That doesn't exist. It's what they tell kids to scare them out of pissing in the pool. I'm from Pennsylvania. When they do the nightly lottery drawings on TV, they always add a reminder at the end. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. So, naturally, I just assumed that a lot of elderly people won the lottery. When I was a teen I made a joke to my dad about him turning 50 and having a better shot at winning the lottery, and he looked at me like I was nuts. Turns out that benefits older Pennsylvanians every day means that the lottery is a fundraiser for senior services, and here I was thinking that it meant grandma was winning millions on her scratch-offs. My cousin's name, growing up, we'd always called her Tori, always that and nothing else. A couple of years ago, well into my 20s, she's visiting and we go to a restaurant. Our waitress comes up and says, "Hi there, my name's Victoria and I'll be taking care of you." My cousin says, "Oh neat, that's my name too." I was surprised by that cause my demos never put together that Tori was short for Victoria. My granddad played this epic decades-long practical joke on me. Every Christmas for as long as I remember, he would put on Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, only the first disc, and he said it was a Christmas tradition. Every year without fail, he would put the CD on, regardless of if we were at his house or if he came to us that year. It was only at Christmas 2020, where I had Christmas without seeing any family due to COVID restrictions where I live, that I asked my housemate, do you want me to go stick on War of the Worlds now, or later? Housemate looks at me perplexed. What, War of the Worlds? My granddad insisted it was tradition. Only your granddad does that, I told him over video call Boxing Day. I never heard the old man laugh so hard.